The U.S. leads the global coalition to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria. ISIS is just one of many actors in this region. The information environment is hotly contested. In Syria, Russia, the Syrian regime, and others use information to influence U.S. decision-makers.
This footage shows American, Russian, and Syrian flags all at the same checkpoint in northeastern Syria. It reveals both the complexity of the situation in this part of Syria as well as how dangerous things can get. This confrontation eventually led to a shootout between pro-Assad Syrian fighters and the U.S. convoy. So how did this happen? Let's break it down. The U.S. has patrolled the Turkish-Syrian border since 2017 to keep tensions down between various factions in the region, namely Turkey, a NATO partner, and the Kurdish militias that are helping the U.S. fight ISIS. In October 2019, President Donald Trump suddenly announced he was pulling U.S. troops out of northeastern Syria, opening the door for Turkey to send its own troops in. That complicated things. Turkey's invasion paved the way for Russian patrols in the area, and strengthened the Syrian regime's presence. Suddenly, the U.S. wasn't the only country with patrols in the neighborhood. Both Russia and Turkey started conducting their own patrols in the same region after working out a deal with the Kurdish militias. The U.S. ultimately backtracked on its plans for a full withdrawal, and instead pulled back to patrolling a much smaller, oil-rich part of the region in the east, essentially giving up its influence in much of the region to Russia, Turkey, and the Syrian regime. The overlapping patrols have led to events like those of mid-February, when a U.S. convoy was stopped by pro-Assad forces at a local checkpoint outside of Qamishli. You can watch the scene unfold in various videos uploaded around the time of the shooting. This Kurdistan 24 reporter was in the middle of a live broadcast when the shooting began, right as two American soldiers and a translator walked toward the scene. The reporter and her cameraman then quickly run down the road and take cover. In the main video showing the shootout, shared by Syrian state media, there is at least 4 Syrian gunmen visible shooting at the U.S. convoy. Meanwhile, a Russian patrol is parked nearby on the side of the road. And in another video, 2 other men with guns can be seen watching from a garage while another attempts to pour what appears to be gasoline on an American MRAP that is already on fire. Video also shows Russian soldiers speaking to a group of people at the checkpoint, some of whom have guns. One Russian soldier can be heard telling the people to chant against the Americans. The same soldier is seen in another video telling people to move away from the U.S. convoy. While this was the most violent incident of its kind so far, it's just one of the many recent examples of U.S. forces having close confrontations with Russian and Syrian forces.
As we see here, some American troops, they don't give the permission for the Russian troops to cruise to the oil areas.
For this video, Newsy analyzed video and images posted online to find at least 8 confrontations between U.S. and Russian convoys across northeastern Syria. All of those just in the first 2 months of 2020. Most of these incidents involve traveling on the M4 highway or near it, a strategic international road that runs throughout the length of northeastern Syria. One incident that occurred after the shootout involved a U.S. MATV running a Russian vehicle off the road. A U.S. military spokesman said Russia had violated deconfliction rules in this case, something that the spokesman says Russia does on a routine basis. This is not the first time that U.S. and Russia have butted heads in Syria. In 2018, the U.S. killed 200 to 300 fighters, a mix of Syrian regime forces and Russian mercenaries, that attacked a U.S. position. And in 2017, US jets intercepted 2 Russian jets after they crossed over the deconfliction line in Syria, separating US and Russian activity at the time. These more recent incidents were closer, though, and they show that the US's ability to dictate the terms on the ground in Syria is slipping. And it reflects just how crowded the US position in Syria has become.
How does the US-led coalition respond? ABC was embedded with the coalition and had access to the soldiers on patrol.
Daesh, ISIS fighters, and the new threat to the region since the US drawdown, countries like Russia moving into unguarded lands, trying to fill the vacuum. Just today, we saw Russian soldiers among that crowd. As the US prepared to leave, the crowd began shouting, "Death to America." While driving with one of the American convoys, we ask about the Russians.
Must be pretty strange to see, a Russian flag and an American flag up against one another in Syria.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But we are focused on making sure that everything is de-escalated.
Today's incident is a stark reminder of the dangerous limbo this region was left in after the chaos of October's partial withdrawal. For US troops, what was already a complex situation is now more uncertain than ever.
Russia conducts maneuvers for information purposes. Let me say that again. Russia conducts maneuvers to achieve goals in the information environment. They put on a show. Here, Russia stages an air assault mission on a completely empty, abandoned US base in Syria.
In northern Syria, Russian troops have taken command of a U.S. airbase, and as Charlie D'Agata reports, the Russians did it without firing a shot.
Russian state media showed commandos staging what looked like a military invasion. The Russians are playing up the takeover of the Kobani airfield as a victory. The former U.S. airbase that served as a main logistical hub for America's fight against ISIS, now with the Russian flag flying over it. The Russians moved in just a day after U.S. forces moved out, leaving behind barracks, beds, abandoned medical supplies, and the skeleton of a gym, weights removed to render it useless. The same can't be said of the runway, however, an American-made landing strip now under Russian management.
The information battlefield in Iraq and Syria is full of disinformation, misinformation, and let's call it what it is. Fake news. With all these information challenges, how did the US and coalition compete? We did the following. Create a mindset to dominate the information environment with weaponized truth. Used an audience-centric approach, reaching the people of Iraq and northeastern Syria in their natural language on their favorite regional networks. Built relationships with partner force spokespeople and regional journalists. Fight fake news fast. Talk to the public through the press. And embedded media. Although the coalition had success, how does America ensure we are competing successfully in the public information environment? Who is in charge of public information warfare? If we trust our troops to fly planes, drive tanks, and shoot rifles, shouldn't we trust them to talk to the press? Have we trained our spokespeople to talk on camera? Do we hire linguists capable of flawless translations and simultaneous interpretations? Is it acceptable that words warriors use personal cell phones, Wi-Fi pucks, and laptops to do their jobs? And how are people influenced? New York Times headlines? Viral videos? Or top-secret information operations programs? And finally, does the U.S. Defense Department really want to win in the public information environment?